All right, let's talk about the AT&T Internet Air. This is their 5G cellular-based home internet. Now, I've had this egg-shaped gateway for a few years, and I've been using it, and it's been pretty good service there. They have a newer gateway here that I'm going to review. I have an in-depth video of this old egg one, but for this one, we'll talk about this newer gateway here that you can see that I have plugged in. So, this service is very selective as far as who can get it. So if you go on to online and search for AT&T Internet Air and you check your availability, you'll find out if you can even sign up for the service or not. If you can't, then they're going to offer one of their other either DSL based or even fiber based internet for you at your location. Now, in general, some people ask, hey, which one is better? Obviously, a lot of people have problems with the way this one looks and how big it is. This is the more traditional form factor that you're used to seeing. If we look on the back of it here, this one has, and this model number is BGW 530-900, and it has two Ethernet ports. They call them 1 gig, so this is a 1 gig Ethernet port. It's got a USB-C port, and then it's got power and a reset button, so not a whole lot of buttons on this guy. On this older one that I have, it actually has the 1 gig Ethernet port. It also has a 10 gig Ethernet port, which means it can go up to 10 gigs per second for speed. And then it's got a USB-A port and a reset button and a power. So similar, this 10 gig Ethernet port is a better one than a 1 gig Ethernet port, but the truth is that AT&T's internet speed can't go over 1 gig of speed anyways right now, so it's not really a benefit. So from that standpoint, I would call them equal from a port and a configuration standpoint. And before I get too far, I must always say, please do hit that like button if you enjoy this video, and consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more stuff like it. That helps this channel grow and lets me know you like this type of video. Now, as far as what this comes in for setup, it should be a pretty much plug and play. You literally plug in the power port, and then you give it a few minutes to register on the network, and then it should be actually connecting and working for you. If you look at the box that they give you with this one, it has a QR code on the front of it that you literally scan, and then it's going to walk you through the setup steps. There is an app you can use. It's the AT&T Smart Home Manager app, and that will help walk you through the setups. So one important thing is, where do you place this device? Now, a lot of people place it wherever their current one is, but that might not be the best for a cellular based one. This one you really want to place wherever it gets the best cell signal, and so that typically is higher up on the floors of your house, so second floor if you have one, and then put it on a side of the house that's closer to the tower. You might know where your cell towers are, or you might not. I do have other videos on how you can find that. But that is what is most important on this type of gateway, is getting the cell signal the strongest possible on here. Now, I'm in my basement, so I have very poor cell signal. You see the one bar there. So you can move it around. You can get a kind of an idea by just looking at these lights there. But the best way is probably doing a speed test, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. All right, so if you want to connect to this device, probably the most likely is that you use Wi-Fi. So if you have a device like a phone or a tablet that has a camera, you can actually scan the QR code on the back of it. There's also a written out Wi-Fi network name and the Wi-Fi password on the back of here for this device. Since it's a tablet, I'm going to click that little QR code symbol, and then I can scan the QR code on the back of the device. And it's able to then get the SSID and the password from that QR code, and now you can see that it's connected to that AT&T WK, which is, each one will be unique based off the device. Now, if I go to the AT&T website, you can see that they have the All-Fi hubs, which is what they call these things. This is that BGW 530, and then the other one is the CGW 450. And that does give you some information here about the status light. So if you have questions when you're setting it up and what does it mean, you can see I have the green solid lights, and that tells me that I'm connected. Obviously, if I had more of the green solid lights, it would be better signal. If it was amber or off, then that would tell you some other information there. And the Wi-Fi button light, green means it's on. If you press that button, you can turn it on and off as well. And then the power light obviously is another one. But in here, there is a PDF to get the full setup guide or information if you want it. Or you can click over here. This tells you a little bit more about the Wi-Fi, how you could go in there and change it. And they do recommend that Smart Home Manager app is probably an easy way to do it. If you want more of the advanced settings, which we're going to go into next, this is where you're going to log into the actual web interface, and you can get a lot more settings than you can in the Smart Home Manager app. So This tells you to, if you want to go into the advanced settings, do MAC filtering, port forwarding, that kind of stuff. All right, so if I want to go to the advanced settings, once I'm connected to it, I go into a web browser, type in 192.168.1.254. That address is listed on the back of this device as well as a sticker, so you can see that. Now, you most likely will get this connection not private thing. That is fine. You click advanced button and then click proceed. And that allows you to connect into here. So this is now the web interface to here. So this is where I get all the advanced settings. So you can see here, it shows my broadband connection is up. I have my 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi set up. So if you want to separate the names, you can go in here and you can change those settings so you have different 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. You can set up a guest Wi-Fi ID. You can also do a lot of these advanced things. So we can go in here, I can get all my device listed. So these are all of the past devices that have connected to this system. I can get more system information if you want to get like your firmware and hardware version of this device. Access code, that kind of stuff you don't need, but you can also do a remote restart the device from here. So you can hit restart and I'll make it restart. Especially that's helpful if it's like, far away in a closet or upstairs or something. You can just do that there. Broadband, this is where it's going to tell you about the cellular connection. So this shows me that it's up, and it shows me what the IP address is. It's telling me the packets that is sent and received if have errors or whatnot down the bottom. That will help you maybe pinpoint some problems with it. On the configure side, okay, so now you get to some of these pages. Now you have to type in a password. That password is also in the back of here. Once you type in that password, this gives you access to more advanced settings. The MTU size is something you probably do not want to mess with, but it's good to note that it is not the default 1500 that most non-cellular connections have. 1430 is AT&T's preferred size. Mobility status, this is the most useful one to me, and that's because it gives you information about the SIM connection and your cellular connection. So the serving cell is basically the main cellular connection for your gateway here, and I can see that it's band 12, and I can see that my RSRP is minus 106, which is not good. Again, I'm in my basement, so I have bad signal down here. I need to get it upstairs. RSRQ minus 13, and my signal to noise ratio of 11. So those are not great numbers, and that's why I get 1 bar signal. I'm not going to get good speed down here, but if I move it upstairs, I'll get better speed, and we'll do that here in a little bit. Home connection, or home network connection. So this main page is really kind of the status. Now there are a couple cool features down here, and that is it can test for Wi-Fi congestion. So you can run those tests and it'll help tell you what channel you might want to change to. And then also at the very bottom is a lot of helpful information about each one of these items. So if you don't know what IP pass-through is, it goes in here and it kind of gives you a little blurb about what it is. So you might have some helpful information by just reading the very bottom of the page if you have questions about it. I think most likely the one that people would go to would be the Wi-Fi tab, and this one is also done in the Smart Home Manager app, but this is where you can change the Wi-Fi information on here. You can go to a custom name, you can change the password, you can also separate out the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz by changing it. And again, they have a setting here where it will help search for the best channel to prevent interference with neighbors. So that's probably the biggest one people use. A lot of people don't use MAC filtering, but if you do, it is here. You can set up MAC filtering for your network. And then other one is more advanced, again, is the subnet and DHCP, so what IP range that it's going to set up for your devices here. And then also under IP allocation, you can set a specific IP allocation if you need to do that. Next is the firewall. And the firewall here, probably the key thing that people are going to look at is this NAT and the gaming one. Now, if you do a lot of gaming, you probably know about port forwarding, having to set it up before. So this is where you would do that. Do take a note of the red text at the top. You'll have to follow those instructions very specifically to enable you to do some of the like server hosting games and whatnot. And again, you could also do an IP pass-through that would send all of the data straight from the internet to another device. So if you have your own Wi-Fi router set up in your own network, which is like what I do, you might want to do IP pass-through where you're basically not using this AT&T device at all for any of your firewall or NAT configuration. So you can go through here, you can read this setup, and follow these instructions for your specific needs. There are some other advanced firewall settings in here. Most people are not going to use these, but it is nice that they have these in case you're an advanced user and you do need them. And then in the diagnostic tab, there are some troubleshooting things which you're probably not going to use unless you're on the tech support with them and they'll ask you to do some stuff. But in here you can run a speed test. This speed test is being done from this device here to the internet. So it's a cool way to understand exactly that connection to there. If you run a device on or a speed test on your device, you're going to be testing also your Wi-Fi connection, not just the cellular connection. So this is a consistent way to run a speed test if you want, and I think this is able to be done in the Smart Home Manager app as well. Okay, well let me see if I can get this device upstairs and compare the speed to this other egg to see if it works. Okay, so I brought this one upstairs and put it by my other one, and I had them both plugged in. I had nothing connected to them other than my my single device there, so I could test their speed. And this one got about 300 megabits per second down and 15 up. That was with back-to-back speed test. I went into the web interface and ran the speed test in there. One time it showed like 160 down, the other time it showed 500 down. So a little inconsistent with that the speed test in the actual web interface, but fairly consistent on speedtest.net. So then I compared it to my other older egg-shaped gateway, and that one also got about 300 down, but it was a little bit slower on upload speed. And when I looked into their connections, they were connected to different bands. This one was connected to band B2 as the main one, and the egg was connected to B66. So that might have driven some of the upload difference there. So I think in general, AT&T is going to tell you that they're about equivalent devices. Based off my testing of what I've seen, I do prefer this one, not only for the aesthetic, but it was giving me some better performance as well. So that's my long and short of it. If you have questions, do put them down in the comments below. I do read the comments in YouTube, and I'll try to reply to them if I can. So if you have any suggestions or, hey, want to test other stuff, do let me know. I guess one thing to note is, these things can probably be taken apart and add an external antenna, and I've done that on T-Mobile and Verizon gateways. It can make a big difference in your performance if you don't have a good place in your house to where to put these to get good signal. Adding an antenna outdoors can really drastically help. So stay tuned and watch some more videos.